Once again, I'd like to welcome all of you to our first panel discussion, the post-lunch session on project management talent building. Before we move into introducing the panel members, I'd like to introduce the host for this session, A. Nagasuriya Sai, PMP, Member Advisor Board, PMI Bangalore Chapter. Mr. Sai is the General Manager at GE Healthcare with over 14 years of experience in developing world-class healthcare products. Currently, he is site leader for GE Healthcare site in Hyderabad, leading product development of electronic medical records on cloud-based technologies. He has built expertise in technical leadership, organization building, and program management. Mr. Sai holds an executive management degree from IIM Kozhikode and master's degree in computers from Andhra University. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to request all of you please give him a big round of applause. Our host for this session, Mr. A. Nagasuriya Sai. I'd like to introduce to you the panel anchor, Mr. B.G. Jairam. Mr. B.G. Jairam is the Associate Vice President and Head of Project Management Center of Excellence at Infosys. He has over 33 years of varied work experience, including 20 years in the Indian Navy. He has been project manager in areas of defense equipment, technology, and information technology. He has been a member of the PMI Bangalore chapter since 2003. I'd like to welcome him to this panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, please give him a big round of applause as I call him up on stage. I'd like to request Mr. Sai to welcome him to this discussion. I'd like to introduce you to the panel members who will be joining Mr. B.G. Jairam. Mr. Vijay Prasad. Since 2010, he is on the Institute Board of Directors at the Project Management Institute, PMI, Newtown Square, United States of America. He is a founding member at the Health Management and Research Institute, Hyderabad, India. In the past, he has been part of the steering committee as a member at the 2009 PMI Congress India, an advisor, a CIO, Head of Enterprise Applications and Business Intelligence Solution Group at Mahindra Satyam, Hyderabad, and a development manager, consultant, senior systems analyst at QRS, California. Ladies and gentlemen, please give him a big round of applause as we welcome him to this panel session, Mr. Vijay Prasad. I'd like to welcome you to this event and to this session. Joining him on the panel is Mr. Srinath Bhatni. Srinath Bhatni, a member of the Board of Directors of Infosys, holds a master's degree in mechanical engineering from the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. He's responsible for the delivery excellence across the company. Prior to joining Infosys in 1992, he has gained experience of almost a decade at one of the leading public sector heavy engineering and manufacturing units, implementing its management and materials management systems, and was also project manager, technical support for a French subsidiary in India for 2 years. He's also director on the board of Infosys Technology Shanghai and Infosys Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him to this panel. The big round of applause to Srinath Bhatni. So we'd like to welcome you to this panel discussion. Joining them on the panel is Mrs. Aruna A. Padmanabhan. Aruna Padmanabhan is the Director, HR, Area South India and South Asia in IBM, with over 19 years of experience as HR professional. Prior to this role, she has held leadership positions in Freescale Semiconductors, based out of Austin, Texas, as the global HR leader for the automotive division. She has worked in various multinationals like Digital Equipment Corporation, Compaq, and Motorola. Aruna has a degree in law and a postgraduate degree in science and is currently working out of Bangalore. She believes in corporate social responsibility and works on a personal level with underprivileged children, helping in their education. She's also a strong proponent of working women and writes articles on women and careers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Aruna A. Padmanabhan to this session. A big round of applause. Welcome you, ma'am. Also on the panel is Mr. Sanjeevan Bajaj. Sanjeevan Bajaj holds a PhD in management from the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. She is currently the CEO of FICCI Quality Forum, which is FICCI's specialized division for training and consultancy in a wide range of areas related to quality management. She started her career with the State Bank and has headed diverse functions ranging from priority sector, leading to corporate finance and personal banking. She has also worked with Tata Consultancy Services Limited for over 10 years, managing consultancy projects. An accomplished project management professional herself, she has handled some of the most challenging consultancy projects for TCS clients in India, UK, and the US. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome her to the panel. This is Sanjeevani Bajaj. And last but not least, joining them on the panel is Vasanthi Srinivasan. Vasanthi Srinivasan, Associate Professor, Organizational Behavior and Human Resources Management, has been with IIMB since 2002, involved in different consulting and research programs. She is Regional Coordinator for South and East Asia on the Global Survey of Business Ethics, life member of the National HRD Network, member of the NIPM and of CII Bangalore subcommittees on corporate social responsibility and disability, impact of developmental methodologies on employee learning and growth, application of data mining techniques in employee turnover and withdrawal behaviors, HR challenges in not-for-profit organizations, managerial synergies in software services and BPOs, and women in information technology. Ladies and gentlemen, give her a big round of applause as we welcome her this afternoon to this panel session, Mrs. Vasanthi Srinivasan. Thank you, Mr. Sai. I'd like to now hand the mic over to the panel anchor, Mr. B.G. Jairam. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure and honor to anchor this panel session. Welcome to all the panelists. The topic of the speech for this panel session has been national talent management. It has focused on project and program management expertise. When we look at the theme of the conference, it says for architecting project management for nation building. What does nation building involve? It involves building up new avenues in different sectors. It could be infrastructure, it could be education, it could be in the case of health, environment. Now when you start building anything, either you are changing or you are building new things. So therefore, projects and programs are imperative in a building nation and when the nation is growing. In this context, if the nation is building large number of projects and programs, where are the project and program managers? Are we building them? We are building doctors to look after the healthcare. We are building engineers to do the construction. We are building probably the professors and teachers which focus on academia. Are we building project program managers who have to be an engineer, who have to be a doctor, who may be independent project program managers? So that is how we chose this topic, and we consider that the experience coming out from these well-experienced professionals from different sectors would be of help and useful to you in pursuing this as to how we help and manage talent in project program management. One of the things which is important is, as we start announcing, before we get into it, we all have got a questionnaire slip which has come to you. Please, if you have any questions to the panel, you can write your question, put your name, email address and organization, pass it on to any of the volunteers. Volunteers will give this question sheets to the central point, collect, and then it reaches. At any stage, if you want to hand over this question field, please raise your hand. Some volunteer will come and pick you across. Now, regarding the format of this panel session, we would have a first round of introductory talk on the topic by each of the panelists. Once they have finished the introductory talk, probably we would move on to a second round of questions. In between, we will take questions from audience. It could be to any of the panelists or it could be in general. And subsequently, we again go for second and third round. We also want to address this panel in 4 parts. We want to see, after the introduction, what are the current status of national talent management. Is it happening? If it is happening, how and where? Then we start looking at some of the challenges and impacts. And the last of the question would be, what are the solutions? Is there something that we suggest to do? Is there something that we want to do? So with this brief introduction and context setting, we begin the first round of this panel session. Do we need talent management for project program management? How many of you say yes? Okay, that's almost about 90% of us people are saying yes. If yes, the question will be for panelists, why? If no, the question will be still why. So we would like to start. Can we have with Vijay Prasad? Any other panelist can pick up afterwards. There's no sequence required.
Okay. Thanks, Jairam. Looking back here, architecting project management for national building. And you hit on the nail saying, why do we really need? Of course, the answer was yes, because many of them, and some of them because post-lunch, they didn't want to, or not really, the effect of lunch or whatever, but it is. Now then the question is, how do we build? That's the crux of the whole issue here. Let me just put back one analogy. I think the pulse polio, if you look at, is it confined only to the doctors, not to the society? Are the doctors only interested in that and not the society? Is it government not interested in that? The pharmaceutical companies which are producing, are they not interested in that? That is the business. So we address 4 constituencies. That is the government, the business, the society, the home also. Now there's one more thing, that is the learning or academics. All 4, or rather 5 constituencies are very important. The problem in this project management and program management is that it has been taken very lightly. I'll tell you, I asked one of the project managers who came out saying that he's a great project manager, and asked him, what do you do? He said, I just put some people, just throw people around. A project is going fine. And people also clapped and all, they honored him. So he's a great project manager. So he's like an elevated project manager or by chance project manager. So project is taken as it's task management, simple tasks and so on and so forth. So it's a responsibility of all the practitioners here, all of us here, as well as the end user, the beneficiaries and so on and so forth. Give that kind of an impulse to the project management. Then only it will come, and all 5 constituents, they are all integrated. If they all draw that, that's how it's going to be. It's also like a revolution. Unless there is a transformation, also we talked about in the e-learning, in the e-government, as to how it is going to happen. It is taken in a big way. It's not going to happen. But if it's taken in real transformation way, the only things are going to happen. I give to the other panelists, but we'll come back.
Well, it is difficult to disagree with such a large number. But I'm not saying an emphatic yes because there's many people who said yes to it. I actually believe that project management is an expertise that needs to be built up. We've all heard this common saying, what you don't know doesn't hurt you. How many of us would agree to that what we don't doesn't hurt us? So we're all Paka project managers. Because in project management discipline, we say that what we don't know not only hurts us, it actually hits us very badly. And therefore, in order to know, in order to anticipate what are the kind of issues that are going to come in subsequently and takes badly, we need to have some kind of grounding in project management and program management practices. So obviously, it is an emphatic yes from my side that project management expertise needs to be built as a skill, as a separate skill. We can't just be doctors, engineers leading projects. We have to be doctors, engineers, and project managers leading projects.
Thanks, Dr. Jeevan.
See, my argument why project management capability is required, I use the word project manager as an individual, is simply fact that we have projects. If we don't have projects, we don't require any project management capability at all. So that is a simple and very fundamental question. What is a project? Are we thinking that projects are created now and there are no projects so far? So this topic was not necessary at all to discuss. And somehow suddenly this topic has become important because suddenly projects have got created. Project is anything what we do which has a start and end date and has a goal and where you spend money to achieve that goal. And to manage this, you need the capability of managing a project. It is, you can look at it as a teamwork, you can look at it as a amalgamation of various skills, but to me, project management capability is nothing but culmination of skill, experience, and attitude. Without any one of these, you cannot really think of a project management capability. It's very difficult to get all these on day number one. So we have to focus on where we have huge gap and how big the gap very effective. So that's my definition of a project management skill. And today, Indian economy is growing. And obviously, you will create a number of projects. And you need this capability to manage this growth. Without this capability, this growth will come down and we'll get back to what we were 15 years back. So the requirement of a project management skill, no doubt, is a must.
Thanks, Srinath. Who is taking?
For me, project management is as simple as saying, do you need to eat healthy every day? Or do you need to have happiness in your regime? The answer to both is true, and that is what keeps you healthy. At a key level, we need project management because it is a way of keeping ourselves healthy. And this is what we follow in corporations, right? It's about your time management, it is about your resource management, and it is about the timing as to when you deliver. And if this is important to stay healthy in an organization, it's also very important for us as a country to stay healthy. And hence we need project management.
I think the justification for project management is adequate and more. So let me pitch from two perspectives. Does a rapidly growing economy like India need different kinds of project management? And let me just define how I see project management from the outside. I start with Srinath's point of definition on the project, but want to build on it a little bit because my strength is around looking at people on projects, not project in itself. So what is the kind of capability that you need when you are looking at project management? Okay? The heart of project management for me is just analysis. Your ability to anticipate, predict, monitor, track. And it is, if you ask me as a capability, what is it? It's the ability to analyze. And I want to make a distinction, even though Mr. Jairam used the word program and project, but I want to make a distinction, which is that I think program management is distinctly different from project management. Increasingly, when you get into different sectors, a lot of times when I ask for, where's your program manager? I get multi-project managers named as program managers because they are in one domain. Which is, so if it is about multi-project management, then it's only an increase in scope. So is that program management? And I'm just going to leave two thoughts, which is, whether it's a malaria program that you're driving at a national level, or whether it is a satellite launch that you're looking at, I think each of these, or whether it is about directing a movie, yeah, I think they are at different levels. And to me, program management as a people capability requires the big picture and synthesis. Yeah, and that's the difference as far as I can see from a people capability. So is project management required? Definitely. But can you reskill people so quickly from driving into an analysis orientation to suddenly ask them to see a synthesis orientation? I think that's a key area I think we should be discussing.
Thanks, Professor Vasanthi. Now, while we move on to the second round, we would like to look at some inputs from the panelists on what their sector's current status is. We're trying to look at what has been the project program management expertise in your sector, how it is being built as of today. We will come for the solution and the impact subsequently. As of today, what is happening across? Can we look at, we have from PMI who would give Vijay Prasad from a global perspective. We will have Srinath and Aruna talking in terms of the IT sector. From the industry sector, we'll look forward to you, and the academia will be from Aruna. open, whoever would like to go first.
From PMI perspective, those who are associated with PMI, those who know about PMI, the envisioned goal of PMI is that worldwide organizations will embrace, value, utilize project management, and most important, attribute success or attribute project management for their success rather. So it's embracing, it's valuing, it's utilizing and attributing the project management to their success. When you say organizations, it's not just the business organizations, etc. It's again all the four constituents. So now that's the envisioned goal of PMI. But if you look at, whether I've been associated with project management and programs and portfolio, let me just add to what Professor Vasanthi has indicated. There have been instances of project management. There have been instances of projects which are not critical to the organizations. Why? Because they missed on a most important thing is the portfolio analysis. Someone initiated a project and that's not been actually adding to the strategy of the organizations. So that's where the portfolio comes in. Then projects fail because they've been not linked to each other, some of the projects. That's where the program comes into. We'll talk about more. But I just want to add one more thing connected with PMI. The CSR arm of PMI is called PMI Education Foundation. It's very, very pertinent. I was going through some of the articles, and I'm myself a member of the PMIEF Leadership Society. I just wanted to just share with you very quickly here. We have some of these things freely available for the members of PMI who can download this and then actually propagate this throughout the society, all the four constituents. Number one, it says building project management skills for the century. And it is a planning and primary and secondary programs and lessons learned. This is for the children just in the primary schools and secondary schools. Okay? Like that, we have another one, tools and templates, by the way. And then we have a mentored curriculum for teachers. As IBM's Luke Gerstner said, it is very difficult to actually train the trainers. The soft part is the most hard part, he said. That's exactly what it is. Many people refuse to learn, and that's where the problem is. But anyway, I think the most important thing is here, project management skills for life. So if you think that project management is only for business and government and so on, and society and so on, that's not. Life itself is a project, and project management is for the life and so on. I was talking to one of the doctors in Hyderabad. He's a surgeon. I just asked him a question as to how they manage. And just in a matter of 2 minutes, he said, why don't you come explain project management to our surgeons? So you see that I think we are the ambassadors. We all need to do. But I'm just adding to it as to what PMI is doing. Now, in terms of India, PMI is actually talking to the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. They are talking to the various institutes like NICMAR and so on and so forth. We are also talking to CBSE to see that how we can have a project management as a vocational program. Now that's the kind of influence. There are other initiatives. I don't want to take time, but we are a very strong catalyst in seeing as to how we can actually change the nation by architecting project management to really make a significant contribution to the building of the nation.
Thank you, Vijay.
Okay, let me go ahead with the IBM story. In the 90s, we moved away from being in hardware into services. And there were several projects which we took over as part of our services. And then, of course, you have successes and you do have unsuccessful projects. Then you start thinking, what is it that I need to do to have every project successful? And we started PM way back in the 90s, and it's become a culture within IBM that all our projects happen in the way of project management. It's not just in the area of services, whether it's human resources or finance, any of the area, everything which we take up, we do use the project management methodology for us to take anything forward. And in the 2000, we became a globally integrated enterprise, which means that we said that we will go wherever talent is available and we will work there. So with that coming in, the project management methodology strengthened a lot more because there were remote projects. We had teams virtually sitting all over the world, and it had to be managed. And the only way you could manage it was with PM, because we saw a lot of successes. And when you see successes, you see what you're doing is right, and it only gives you further strength to make the methodology even more successful. Today, you know, it's just a culture of IBM that we deliver everything through project management. We have a center of excellence for project management. We have share nets where project managers share whatever they do. There are team rooms where everything is put up and anybody globally can access and see how people had situations, how they've come out of it, and it's become a big network. We have a project manager network, and all our large projects have delivery project executives and project executives who are delivering globally. And we have seen this methodology making us extremely successful in the world.
Let me speak about Indian IT industry itself. 20 years back, Indian IT industry was primarily focused on what we call today a skill-based consulting. Basically, it was a body shop. So in that mode of service, what we were selling as a service were the skill of an individual. And all the focus was to develop, nurture this skill. In this mode of operation, the individual, neither the individual nor the company which employs that individual was even expected to take the responsibility for the outcome, because outcome was a part of this skill service, was a part of multiple skills working together, and that was taken care of by somebody else. Then the industry graduated into what is known today as a managed service, which typically drawing a line around a scope and creating a project and taking the responsibility for the outcome of the project. But still, the projects were not expected to be responsible for the business results, the end business results, because still the end business result depended on multiple such projects by the client. And then the industry graduated, or slowly graduating into a stage where we are able to take the responsibility for the business outcome. It is an end-to-end responsibility, which you can call, in a way, a program, because you are responsible for your projects. You are also responsible for the projects run by somebody else, maybe client's team, maybe a vendor team, maybe somebody else. In this movement, from skill-based consulting to the overall end-to-end responsibility for the business outcome, multiple things changes. First and foremost is identification and management of the risk, which is almost at a scale of 0 when you do the skill-based consulting, except that individual skill has to be honed, developed. 2, taking the responsibility of the whole program, the whole risk management profile changes. Second, when you move from a skill-based consulting to a large-scale program management, you have to expect slippages. You have to expect something changes, weather will change in some part of the world, and you have to be capable of going to plan B, plan C quickly and do the course correction and still meet the end results. And Indian software industry today is capable of doing it. And this has not come overnight. It has taken 20 years. And this is the development which we can all be proud of as an industry. Thank you.
Just building on where Srinath started, I mean, in the last 5 years, one of the questions, and I remember in 2004, a person from PMI came to meet us at the institute because we had launched a program on software project management, and we positioned this as a techno-managerial program. So just wanted to ask us, saying, what is it that this techno-managerial program is about? And to be honest, the genesis of that program itself is very strange, because this was a professor who is a specialist in software management, project management, who came and asked somebody in the human resources like me to say, look, I know there's something missing in this project management training. We're not able to put our finger on what it is, so why don't you just come and figure out what it is that is missing? And there we had the most diverse group of people that I have ever addressed in my life. We had 4 people from the armed forces. We have 3 people from Government of Karnataka. We have 9 people from software project organizations. We had 1 TV documentary producer. We had a couple of other construction industry. And then we had defense establishments. And what was interesting as the training evolved is that the distinction between the nature and, so what are the capabilities that they require? Now, how can you negotiate a 1,500 crore multi-stakeholder project without having some basic capabilities, which is beyond project management as a technical capability? So one of the interesting questions is stakeholder management. With stakeholder management, you have all the related things. How do I anticipate what they want? How do I ensure that I build consensus? How do I get people to actually support me when I walk into the meeting that I'm actually proposing a radical change in the plan? I mean, very loosely, I mean, I'm just borrowing Srinath's term, but you know, this whole thing of understanding organization and beyond your project. I think that's one capability that came out very clearly as seriously needed. The second one that came out of that, and I'm just sharing with you because, which was unanticipated completely, that there seemed to be different, and so I'm asking the next set of questions, and which is, so there are some ways I think today, and I completely concur after having listened to the both of them along with what PMI is doing. Training, I think we were getting on top of it. Should we do more of it across all sectors? Yes. And will we need to do it for the next 20 years? I don't think we have a choice as a nation. Yeah? So that's very clear. But the interesting thing is, if I trained more and more people on methods, tools, and methodologies, will it mean that I'm building project management capability in an organization? I think that's a question that a large number of rapidly growing organizations, whether it's infrastructure or software projects, I think that's the challenge, because we have traditionally associated project management with competence. I'd like to introduce the word temperament. Projects have competence. Project management is about competence, but project management is about temperament. And one of the interesting questions today, if you ask, is how many of us assess structured, in a structured manner? And I'm not talking about informal assessments, because in organizations like theirs could not have grown over hundreds of years without that informal capability that exists in the organization. But why is it that if there are highly complex projects, it requires certain kinds of people to manage? Not everybody can manage a highly visible project. Yeah? So when you ask those kinds of questions, I think it throws up 2 sets of challenges in project management. One is the competence, which we have to strengthen, and I have no difficulty with it. But the bigger challenge is, how do you build the temperament beyond project management to actually look at saying the nature and character of projects within the project management structure? Yeah? So that's, I think, something that we should be thinking about.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I represent the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. In our organization, we do not do large projects in the sense of infrastructure projects or software projects and so on and so forth. The kind of projects we do, in fact, hinge upon stakeholder management through and through. I'll give you an example. One of the latest projects that we launched last week in Chennai is called the Credible India project. You know, it's intended to be a pun on the Incredible India, because now we need India to be credible in the eyes of the world. So at the end of it, what are we expecting from the Credible India project? we expect that the image of India as a reliable, credible country should grow in the eyes of everybody. As a tourist destination, probably we are very good being incredible, because something mysterious and something that is totally unexpected is good from a tourist perspective. But from the perspective of ease of doing business, we need somebody to be credible. Now, this kind of a project, as you can all imagine, if we were to say that we need some work breakdown structures and tools and methodologies and specific outputs, then it's going to be a misnomer. Projects of this kind are through and through stakeholder management projects. And at the end of it, in fact, it brings me back to the same question, that we need project management expertise and program management expertise. But then sometimes the term project management is very narrow to represent that expertise. It is actually an expertise to run everything around you. It's not just a project that you are running, you are in fact running your life, running the organization's life and everything around it. So in our organization, we need that kind of project management skill. And the way we do it is like it has been done informally in most organizations, that somebody who's at the top in the organization will be the designated head of the project, and somebody else would be supporting in terms of tools and methodologies, which will have to some extent a limited role to play. I suppose that should make it clear on what are the complex projects that we manage.
Thanks, Dr. Sanjeevan. See, I think the biggest challenge is that have we understood and measured how many expertise is available? How many people know maths, arithmetic? Everybody who has gone to school would have done it. Do we know how many people can anchor conducting of a Olympics? Can we anchor and conduct Olympics? Can I have a choose a topic, or the number of people from different areas? How many nuclear scientists we have? We are looking in terms of talent management. Beyond that, how many scientists are capable of running the nuclear scientific program and manage power sector? So there are areas which requires far more understanding, both through media and through various formal education into the nation itself. If you ask how many of your children can use computers, we all say that probably today 75%, urban sector maybe 90%. Can I move to the next sector and say that how many people we have got scientists in the area of computers? Similarly, we are looking at project program management. Now is the right time. We move on to some questions not discussed by us, some questions which is coming from you. What I would read is I will read the question. If it is very particular to a particular industry, it will go straight away to that panelist, otherwise it is open. What I can see is the first question is that we have IITs focusing on technology, IIMs focusing on business management. Why there is no such institute focusing on project management? This is from Venkatramaya from Wipro. Anybody can take, but I think you have a first choice.
Yeah. I think, let me just share with you, because there are at least 3 sectors where I have seen project management as course in the curriculum. So if you look at the Petroleum Institute, you look at the National Institute for Construction Management, they all have very, very exhaustive courses around project management. Okay? So there are 2 interesting questions in what he's saying. One is, are there institutions which are offering, whether they are in business management or in other specialized areas of management, is project management a component? Yes, I see it more in the last 7 years than I've seen it in the previous 20 years. So I think that's an important recognition that we have to have. The second one, I think I must confess, being in the academia, and I think this is not just an India problem but a larger global problem, is that the industry leads or the government leads, the academia lags. So by the time you're struggling and coping with project management, and I see this when companies come to us requesting a program, you have already reached the complex stage where now you think you need inputs which are much more systematic and methodical. And at that point in time, the academia has just begun to notice that it is a problem. So that lead lag, I don't know how we will bridge, but that's a big question as far as India is concerned, at least in the next few years, because a large part of what industry does is training, and a large part of what academic institutions traditionally are supposed to do is education. So where does project management training marry with project management education? And I think that's something that we will probably have to take forward.
I think Vijay wants to add something.
Yeah, it's a very important point. I talked to fourth year student. Well, I don't want to name the institutes. One of the premier institutes in India. I asked this boy, do you know project management? He says yes, but definition and so on and so forth, absolutely wrong. Which told me that there is no such course in this top leading institute here. But don't be surprised. If you look into the institutes, similar institutes in the United States, they also do not have this program. So if you want to be happy for a while. Now this is what it is. Now let me tell you something. The way we need to do, as Professor Vasanthi has indicated, is one constituent, that is academia. There is an Indian Academic Council that has been formed, that is advising PMI to see as to how PMI can integrate with the academic institutions, to see as to how we can propagate, how we can nurture, how we can institute project management and bring out industry-ready project managers. That's one. Now let me just go back to one simple thing. From the point of view of business, we had in our organization one mandate. For every critical project, the definition varies. The project manager has to develop one or two project managers at the end of the project. Let me repeat that. At the end of the project manager, one of the aims or one of the key result areas of this project manager or KPIs is not only make the project successful, but also generate a couple of project managers. That's how you force multiply. I ask you one question. 50 years back, no, make it 55 years back, looking at me. The first book called alphabet book. Everybody has gone through A, B, C, D, etc. like that. I remember C stand for cat. At that time, C stood for cat. Even now it is C means cat in that book. Please go. If you are not taken or if you are not really reading that book for your nephews and nieces, etc., please take a look at it. And P for parrot, it was there. Even now it is there. But in terms of C, they made one change. Not only cat, they added computer. But there is no project for the letter P. It is still parrot. And it says, my first lesson in the life. My first lesson. So I think that's where the whole thing should start. We should start saying P for project should be instituted. By the way, I did speak to the publisher in Daryaganj in Delhi, and he said he will introduce this. I'm going to follow him. I'm going to ensure that in at least the next couple of years he's going to come. Now, having said that, the businesses need to get integrated with the academia. Businesses should demand. There was a time when the quality of the bread was not good in England. Nobody bought the bread and the whole bread was dumped. So when the society demands quality, there will be quality. If you say chalta hai, so chalta hai. But if you say we want the project, we want all projects to be successful, we want the HRD says no, you are the academic institution, you must really build the industry-ready project manager, then only I'll hire. Yes, in the academy also will develop that. The community should really do this. The government should really push for that. Then only we'll be able to do that. That's what I wanted to indicate, Jairam. And PMI is the catalyst for that. Along with there are other professional bodies also like PMI.
Thanks, Vijay. We will not go in for each panelist for each question to get the more number of questions. So maybe one or two panelists only would speak on each. I have a question from Prashant of Sintel. Relevance of HR in PM talent building. Obviously, I'm looking at you as well as is anybody else.
Basically, in IBM, we do have all managers who are going to be project managers going through the PMI certification. Again, let me link it, dovetail it to your earlier question. Are we as a company or an industry, are we going to these colleges and demanding that we want project managers to be trained in colleges? No, because we all go to colleges, to top tier schools, depending on the number of people they've placed. everybody says, I had 80% placement last year. I had so many people passing out, but we do not ask them, do you do skill building, right? That is taken over by the company itself. So once people come into the company, it's typically the younger people get into the projects, but we do have a very clear path for project management, and we have a center of excellence for PMs. And they go through a rigorous training before they get into the project management function.
Thank you. Srinath, would you like to say?
See, my view is, in any service-based industry, including IT, the role of a line manager, 50% is HR role. I keep telling all our project managers that you are basically a HR manager. What it really means is, when you are running a project, it is not necessary that you achieve the goals of the project, but mentor the people in the team to work together, basically build the team spirit. Secondly, build a common vision and goal for the team so that they all work towards the goal. And third, of course, bridge that gap of experience through your mentoring to impart that knowledge to the team members so that when they become project managers, they become quickly, faster. They cannot wait for 10 years of experience to fill up that gap. Otherwise, organizations cannot grow. So essentially, the role of HR department and role of HR function, I differentiate. HR function is a function in everyone's role. It's just like security is everyone's responsibility. Especially in service industry, I believe that a line manager is basically an HR manager.
Thanks, Srinath. We have a question on how do you enable rotation between professional trainers and the practitioners to bring real-life experience into training project and program managers? Again, this question is from Rajesh of Sintel.
I think two or three methods that I have found organizations are innovating, particularly in marrying, like what he said, experience with skill and competence. See, today when you are rapidly growing, that's our challenge. Skill is the easiest to deliver. And you'll see the number of organizations that many of you belong to who do certification. Is there a role of certification? Yes, there is a role for certification. But beyond certification, when you want to actually get people to understand what it means, the three methods that I have seen being used by organizations in the last 2-3 years, first is more and more organizations today are building their own cases into the training program. So that's the first big step, okay? We run programs for trainers in organizations on developing cases. So you see, it's interesting. That's a big shift I've seen in the last 5 years. So your cases, your reality, your context, and you're kind of bringing it in. The second shift that I have seen is, today most project management training in organizations is coupled. It's no longer piecemeal training. After certain inputs of training, people go back and do hands-on implementation of ideas picked up on the project management training. So which means effectively, you'll have to demonstrate that you have implemented the learnings by being a better project manager in that cycle. Okay? So this is a second methodology which I think is the right direction for us to head. And the third and the most important one that I'm beginning to see, very little, but I think we should see more of it, is every time people go through a project management training and do a project on better project management, senior leaders in the organization sit with them and give them feedback on how they did it differently, or more important, what have been their experiences in seeing others in the organization do it. I've seen the third one in a few organizations, particularly in the construction industry, is working brilliantly, working very, very well. And these are innovations in terms of delivery of training.
If I may add here, In IBM, there is something which we do extremely well. We have mentoring and we put people on stretch assignments. So, you have mentors for your PMs who actually give them feedback, like the way you said. We also put younger people before they go on to the PM function itself. We put them on stretch assignments and we also make them do job shadowing. We get them to shadow good PMs so that they already know what they have to do when they get into the role.
I will go on to the next question, but I can make out a trend. The set of questions coming is again on training and competency development. We're trying to focus more and more on talent management at the organization level, at the national level. But we are getting more and more questions, but then I'll give you the questions. Maybe you might give a perspective on this. Is there a career path for purely standalone project management professionals, or domain knowledge plus PM experience more valued? In other words, PMs switch freely between industries or domains. This is from SAP Labs, Santosh.
Let me just, Santosh, PMI has defined 6 competencies for effective project management, or becoming an effective project manager. Going back to what you have indicated, Professor Vasanthi. 1, project management knowledge or competence. That is, what is project management? Now, there are organizations like PMI. PMI has developed what is called as Project Manager's Book of Knowledge. There are 9 knowledge areas and so on. That's one example. So, one is the knowledge. The second is the personal competence. The second is the personal competence. That's what all the things talking about, the negotiation skills, and now the consulting skills are becoming very important. The value generation skills, that is going beyond time, cost, and scope, and so on. So all these aspects, human relations aspect, the leadership, all these things bundled together are the personal chashma and so on and so forth. Third is a very important one, the project management execution skills. Not just the knowledge, but the execution part of it. How do you really make use of all this knowledge, the personal skills and so on, driving the project to success? That's another important skill. Fourth is the industry domain knowledge and so on. That is the industry knowledge, that's the project in context, let me put it. That's one very critical area. You can't get a project manager from civil engineering, put it in IT and say, there you go, then there you go, the project will go into failure anyway. Now, the thing is that that kind of knowledge is very essential, or the experience. Now, I'm saying here, the necessary and sufficient. Let me put it one way. The necessary and sufficient is a very important, because the next question will be, how much deep should we really develop and so on and so forth? The necessary and sufficient skill. Finally, the aspects of the organizational policies, practices, and so on are another set of skills. So all the 6 skills are very important. The thing is, earlier in way back, you had doctors who are just probably called MBBS, or at the most general practitioners. Now you have oncology, all these oncology, and then, I don't get some of these new names also. Every day near my street, these boards come up one by one, just like floors in a building. A day will come when we'll have a project manager planning, project manager initiation, project manager execution, project manager closing, because closing is a very important aspect too. Because failures are attributed in all these areas. There are several examples, etc. So it's a journey. It's going to continue, and one day, yes, it's going to become exactly a similar way, the way the rest of the competencies have grown.
Thank you. I think we have got a large list of questions, and I can see the time is 5 minutes past 3.
Can I just take 1 minute, because I have a counterpoint to what he believes.
You can. Subsequently, I'll be telling for quicker and shorter answers.
Sure. I think domain is not going to be needed in future. Okay, and I'm just going to challenge that assumption, because the first 100 people...
Can I just ask at this stage the audience, you said domain is not required in future.
Domain is not going to be the key requirement for a project management career as you go in the future, because the top 100 people who've created the software services in India, industry in India, none of them came from software services organizations.
Can I just take it? You don't mind asking for the audience? In spite of the clap, we want to know how many of you agree with Professor Vasanthi? Okay, you are there.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. I think in India we have these silos, too many of them. And 90% of the people, and I can challenge on this, that most of you sitting in the room who are between 35 and 45, if I were to give you a choice to change your industry, I think 50% of you will. And it's a provocative statement and I'm making it. The reason why I'm making this is because we associate skills and competencies with industry. No, all of us sitting in this room are highly adaptive. Do you know what you need? Do you know how to reskill yourself? Do you know how to ensure that you have an entry point into an organization when you get reskilled? I think that will be the mindset from a future perspective, from workforce perspective.
Professor Vasanthi, you said, again, it's a very good point you raised.
I will understand.
Good. Perhaps, did I not use the word necessary and sufficient? So the necessary and sufficient is very important. So we don't want PhD domain guys to come into the project management, okay? Nor we would like to have MBA guys you teach to come into and they said, I am a specialist in that. But the necessary and sufficient component is very important. Otherwise, it is not going to be. That is what the important. How much? Yes. If you do not have absolutely no knowledge about, or if you do not have the knowledge of the context of the project manager, it will be a rough journey. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think Dr. Sanjeevan has something.
I just want to tell you a small story and leave the conclusion to you, because this is a hugely debatable area, whether you can become a good project manager without domain expertise. I'm not saying without prior domain expertise. You might become a good project manager even after becoming the project manager if you acquire domain expertise. So I'm not using prior domain expertise, but in the 60s, 70s, you know, when we had our manual, only the public sector banks were there and we had manual operations. To encash a check, we had to go on the counter, present a check, sign the check and get our money. A far cry from the kind of thing we have now with ATMs and all. And this is a story that has been handed down to me. So if the original version is slightly different, please excuse me for that. I joined Bank of Baroda as a trainee officer in 1977. And we had not heard of ATMs, let alone having seen them. 2-3 years down the line, our CMD visited the US and he saw ATMs over there and he came back and lo and behold, he said we're going to install an ATM of Bank of Baroda in Fort Bombay. And everybody was saying, what has happened to the CMD? He's gone to the US and seen some new toy. He wants to install it here. Who is going to use ATMs here? Because all these Marwadi customers who go to Bank of Baroda, they all carry 20,000, 25,000 in their pajama pockets. They're not like you and me running to the ATM for 500 bucks and going around. So now, if in hindsight, we know that that has been a good decision because today ATMs are used by everybody. Now the question is not whether we needed an atmosphere that people will be using ATMs at that point in time, because it was a thing that was far ahead of its time. But gradually the conditions for successful use of an ATM have been created in this country also. So whether you come in as a project manager without prior domain expertise, probably that cannot be debated because you might have many new angles coming from a different industry. But whether you can continue to be a successful project manager without acquiring that domain expertise, probably experience might suggest otherwise. So all of you who held their hands high, I hope you won't beat me up when I go down.
Thanks, Dr. Sanjeev. It also answers a question which has come from, from Intel Ensign Ray. Domain knowledge and project management skills are generally highly coupled. What does panel think about this? I think you already had 2 views of it. So I would like to move on to the next question, which is project management is a middle management area, which I believe cannot be acquired by just academic course. Organizations may not recruit project managers coming out fresh from academic institutions offering PM degree. How can this be handled?
Yourself into the project management methodology of functioning. It's about, at the end of the day, it's about the cost, it's about, the time, and it gets measured by your customer, right? So it's about an attitude where the academics can actually teach and train students before they come into an organization as to say there is a structure, you have to work within that structure, and you are going to be measured by the deliverables. And it is about working with the people to deliver ahead of time, because you're going to be measured on that. And that becomes very important, because in academics, if they can teach how a project gets delivered. Today, everybody in an engineering course has to do 3 months of projects. But how many of those students know what project management is? Are they using the methodology to deliver that project? You don't have to do much. When they go out and do the project, just tell them to do it in the project management methodology and deliver it in that process. That itself will be a huge education before they come into the industry.
In a triangle of skills, experience, and attitude to perform a job, where does the project management fit in? There is no word project management in these three names. Project management sort of encompasses this. Now, when we are talking about a college or a university or an institute which imparts the skills of project management, again we are coming back to one part of these three. If you take a cue from defense services, Indian Military Academy, or those kind of institutions, the officers who come out of the training are young. They are not very experienced, but the training and exposure they get in that course is a rounded experience. And I don't know any institute, academic institute or college or university today is able to produce an young graduate with a completely rounded experience like that. If somebody can produce, they can become project manager directly into the industry. It may not really meet the levels of experience required, but the organizations can fill up that gap extremely fast. But if you look at an officer, young officer coming out of these institutions, he can lead people, he can lead the team, he can be a leader, he understands the skills of warfare, and of course his attitude of go and get it. And that's what they produce. And I don't know any of the academic institutions is rounded enough to produce such type of graduates.
Thanks, Srinath. Quick answer?
Yeah. Let me add to that. I think any certification or any kind of training is not just standalone and sufficient for that matter. I know of an organization which had a crossover program. Primarily, it's a IT company, but what it did is that it hired experienced managers from oil and gas industry, manufacturing, retail, and then actually superimposed or rather trained them in the organizational policies, project management, etc. So that you have a sandwich of the various competencies. That is how we could actually, or the organization could actually go and say that, look, these are not just the project managers, but they're also soaked up in the kind of overall skills, the leadership skills, the leadership institute, and so on. So, yes, before the project's ready, the project manager has to be ready. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, I have a question which I would request answer in one line. Anybody can answer this. There are so many great projects like Taj Mahal, pyramids, etc. were built without project management certifications. Why now talent building? I would like one-line answers from any of you. Please continue.
I am not sure whether it was within time and budget.
One line still.
Yeah, let me add to this. See, in the United States, there is a concept called PE, that is an engineer. That is an engineer after graduating from the engineering college still cannot practice unless they have a PE certification. So practicing engineer. Similarly, plumbers, electricians, and so on. The whole idea of that is to see that they constantly reskill themselves and they are aware of the current practices and the best practice and so on. We can again debate on this one, but I just want to leave it
looking for
there.
one-liner.
Yeah. There are two kinds of projects, those that are planned and executed, those that are planned, executed, stopped, again planned, executed, stopped, again planned, executed, stopped, finally executed.
Okay, I have one answer. It is not that these are not built without project management. Project management went in within the way it wants. We do not know how much of information. Certifications may not be there, but experience was there.
I can also say one more answer. Taj Mahal was built because of his love, which cannot be measured.
Okay, I'm happy to see one interesting question which links close to the theme of the conference. What are the transformational initiatives required at the national level to realize the PM talent for nation building? I think I will give you first option.
I think
to
I
go
will
ahead.
take this option also because very recently our
Sorry, this
organization.
question was by T.R. Anand from SRM University. Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah, very recently FICCI has given a 3-point agenda to the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation for building project management talent in the country. Now, one of the points that we have recommended to them is to make a distinction between organizational project management capability and individual project management capability, because most of the times when we are talking about training in project management, building project managers, certification in project management, we are talking about individuals becoming more and more competent and skilled in the domain of project management. Now, we all know that there are situations when exceptionally bright individuals go to organizations which do not have commensurate systems and processes in place, and many times they are not able to perform up to their full potential. So therefore, concentrating on one against the other might become counterproductive. If we concentrate only on individual project management capabilities and they go to organizations which do not have commensurate maturity of project management processes, then it might become a roadblock in the growth of the individual. So therefore, what we've recommended is that both these things should be taken simultaneously. On one hand, we develop individual project competency. On the other hand, we should also encourage organizations to become more and more mature as organizations, for which we need more of maturity models, organizational process maturity models, where project management processes can be bifurcated into maturity levels, just as we have in the software industry and ad hoc and repeatable, etc. Similarly, for project management also, we should have a distinct organizational process management maturity model in this arena, so that both of the things come together and synergistic growth can be achieved.
We have a lot of questions. I'll come back to you. There are a few questions on particularly to PM. Anything you want to add? This is on what transformation initiatives you think we require at national level.
I asked some of my classmates. I passed out almost 35 years back my engineering course. Some of them are in academics today. They are professors, deans, and those kind of people. So recently we were talking about the education system, especially engineering education system, what it was and what it is and all that. Then I was horrified to understand or know something, which is today the engineering colleges, large number of them, have become a number churning institutions. Large number of graduates come out. And I told them, from the other side, in the industry, we know it, because the employability of these people is very low. Now, when I was thinking about it, I just compared the education system in the US, especially university education in the US, and the engineering education here in India. There are 2-3 fundamental differences which I came to as a conclusion, which is, here somehow there is no focus on application of that knowledge to the practical realities. Either it is because it is not required or it is not being insisted. So a student generally will not even try to apply that. Whereas in an education system in the US, it's expected that a student applies what he learns in the classroom in a real life situation, and they create a situation wherein there is no choice but the student to apply that knowledge. Second is the focus on grades, marks, which has to be there, but somewhere I think that is going beyond the limit than the knowledge acquisition. And these are the two aspects which I think are not helping us. It is helping us to produce numbers, but it is not helping us to produce the quality. So somewhere this whole academics have to relook, not just the syllabus. We all say that they have to change the syllabus up to date and all that. But the way it is all done and the students are trained when they come out. We in Infosys, we spend 12% of our revenue on retraining our people. Why is it required? It's because somewhere we had to bridge that gap. For example, when I go to the campus interviews, nowadays I go only to one campus. This is constant one question I ask for a mechanical engineering graduate. They are from IITs, they are from premier institutions of this country. I ask this question: what is the difference between a petrol engine and a diesel engine? Almost all of them can answer that. Then I ask the next question: why don't you see a diesel engine powered moped on the street? You will not believe. 70% are not able to answer this. Then I give a leading questions. And when I start leading questions telling that your power ignition and spark plug ignition, another 50% are able to connect with that, with my first question and answer why you don't see a diesel powered moped on the road. But still 50% can't make it out. And that is the problem with our education system today.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I think I completely concur with what Srinath said, and I really want to pose a question because one of the challenges that we see is this situation in terms of just the number of people who are going to be coming is actually going to increase. And I'm sure if you have looked at your demographics for the next 20 years for India, effectively 400 million people will require reskilling either in employment, entrepreneurship, or whatever. So the base is education. And I'm just leaving this question because it's a right time to do soul searching is, if 12% is what Infosys is investing, and I do seriously believe that if I look at the total training budget of all Indian corporations, it will probably run enough to be able to establish a whole collaborative university funded just through the corpus of training and build skills for the nation rather than building skills for companies. I agree this may sound altruistic, philanthropic, especially coming from a business management professor where I ought to be looking at profitability. But to me, I think Indian project management, I'm using it as an illustration, but if we want to build Indian project management, we are talking about sustainability of India rather than profitability in the short run.
Thank you, Vasanthi. This question I will ask here first and then go back this side. Which is more difficult from your experience, retaining the talent or hiding the new talent, I assume in the area of project program management? Since most of them here are not purely commercial, I would like to have your opinion and then get back to them as to what the industry says.
I didn't get the second part.
Which is most difficult from your experience, retaining the talent or hiding the new talent in the area of project program management? Bhaskar from Intel has asked this question.
Okay.
Is it retaining or?
Okay, I'm going to leave 3 ideas, all of them for just introspection. I don't want to say today, I think talent acquisition itself is a whole issue. Okay, so retention will be an issue for the next 10 years, so let's be mentally prepared. The second issue which I want to leave is, the recent 2009 study on CEOs of India actually throws something which for me is bothering, and I'm leaving with you because many of you are project managers who will become program managers and hopefully will be CEOs of companies in about a decade or so. One of the interesting things is they were looking at benchmarking the top CEOs of India with the top global CEOs. And in that study, across all the competencies, Indian CEOs and Indian leaders were better or equal to all the other CEOs. There was only one good clap. Yeah, we need to clap for that. The one area where we are weaker than most of the other CEOs is in grooming talent. So I'm just asking us to reflect, what is it about us that we are not able to build project managers of that magnitude? And most of the time organizations tell me that it's their performance management system. Rubbish. We just cue the metrics there. We know how to do it, okay? Instead of measuring you on delivery and cost, I'll measure you on the number of people you have groomed.
You want me to go on up to 3:45?
Okay, so I'm just asking us to think, because obviously this title, the theme of this session, they have chosen with a lot of care. And it requires us to reflect more than anything else. Sorry.
Okay, I would like to ask these people to answer across.
Yeah.
Because it's an important question. There must
It's
be
an either-or question. So let me answer the first one, which is about retaining talent. It is extremely important for us to retain talent because we have trained them. We have spent energy, we have skilled them, and they have embedded themselves with the company, and they know how to do what we want them to do and how to deliver the projects. So it's very, very important for us to retain our talent who we have trained.
your word.
If you look at from business point of view, retaining talent is the requirement, because you don't want to hire and spend money on that. You need to retain people. But which is difficult? I think both are equally difficult. There is no number one and number two there.
Okay, as the time is approaching and we also have one of the panelists to go elsewhere, there are 2-3 questions. I request very quick answer. One is that there are a few questions for PMI directly. Project management talent building, does it mean making more PMPs? Very specifically, which is asking across. There's also one more question for PMI India. What is the contribution of PMI India for good project management practices across India? Can we have an answer for these two? The first one is is good project management talent building means, is it just more PMP certifications? This is from Nagbhushan from Mindtree. The other question is from Kishore from Deloitte.
Okay. The question is, so just producing certifications, is it what it is, right? Okay, so again, as I said, just certifications will not help. Just certifications, yes, I'm a certified, and if you walk in, then you'll walk out. So please understand, and you all know that. So, but certification is one important ingredient, I would say. I took certification. I passed certification way back in 2000, etc. The biggest thing that I gained is not the certificate itself, but the overall project management and the knowledge and so on and so forth. So now the certification has improved, and there are several constituents have been put forward. I explained to you the 6 competencies. PMI only concentrates on the knowledge building, not on the personality and so on, not that PMI will stand next to you and execute, etc. So certification is an important aspect, right? But you need to really go on further building, as Aruna has indicated. How do you really make the talent that you already have soak up again and again in projects and so on and so forth? That's what I would say. It's a sustainability that we need to look into.
Thanks. Considering the time, and we always honor the time, we have got extension for 5 minutes. We will have the last round in which we would request panelists to say, what do you suggest? How should we build talent in project program management at the national level? We start from here.
Okay.
End up with
In my perspective, we have 3 ways in which we have to build talent at a national level. The first one is the top-down approach, where the government takes the initiative to have a PMO, not the Prime Minister's office, but a project management office, which exists. But it's also about the deliverables. It's also about the time and not overshooting the budget. And it becomes very critical for PMI to help them do that in the charter. And I think this will build a very strong nation. Today, if you look at it, we have one Sridharan who delivers projects, right? I wish we can multiply that in the government so that it will strengthen the way we deliver projects today. The second one is the bottoms-up approach, where all of us cannot sit back and say that is PMI's charter. I think each of us have to inculcate it in our homes. We have to work with non-governmental organizations, the NGOs, how we can go and inculcate it at the village level, the taluk level. How do they understand how they can deliver through project management so that all their projects are deliverable? The third way we have to do it is through academia. Every time I state academia, I look at you, Vasanti. I think today it is a supply-demand situation. We are talking about how many graduates who are coming out of colleges and then how many of them are placed. None of us are asking the question about what skills do they have. Do any of us do that? No. But we have to look at reskilling them so that we spend less than probably 12% on what Infosys spends, similar numbers we spend in IBM. So how do we cut that down and we take help from academia to help us do that? This is the way I think we can build talent at the national level.
Thanks, sir.
There are a couple of things which we can do. One is create a very strong fraternity of project managers to create a knowledge base and share that knowledge extensively, good practices and bad practices. The second is every successful project manager can take a oath that he or she will mentor at least 2 budding project managers in his organization. It may be on a live project, it may be a simulated project, it may be an internal project, it may be an external project, but doesn't matter. Spend that extra hours out of your office schedule to mentor those 2 young people so that they will get confidence to become and will be the future project managers of the country. Third, this is what I was thinking. Each one of us have children, son or a daughter. Why can't we groom them by giving them exposure to normal projects? Ask them to organize some event at home and tell them how to do it very systematically. These are some of the things which will come as a habit, and when they really get into the real life, either in IT industry or some other industry, they will be good project managers of the future.
Thanks, Srinath.
Yeah. While I would agree with my co-panelists on the specific recommendations that they've talked about, I think I would also like to put it in perspective as an economist would see it. You know, you create the enabling conditions and then market mechanisms would gradually follow and build what you're wanting to build. So if we were to look at it from that perspective, we need a combination of carrot and stick to promote this kind of not only talent but also a project management kind of culture where we become more precise about what we are trying to do and start getting into measurables and so on and so forth. So one of the recommendations which I'll repeat here that we've given to the government is that at least in the government they should insist that people who are in senior positions and who are handling several projects, they should have some kind of project management training. That doesn't mean they should necessarily have a PMP, but whether they are appointed project managers first and then given the training, or initial 1 month or 2 months of exposure either on the job training or whatever, but it should be compulsory for people who have to come into contact with large projects to be compulsorily trained in project management. And because every project that seems to be, every large project in some way has an interface with a government project manager on the other side, who cannot appreciate what project management is all about unless he has some basic exposure. So that should start building the carrot and stick to promote this kind of thinking that we need to be more precise and more planned about the way we are handling our projects.
Thank you.
I think I'll just build on what they have said, which is that one of the challenges, see, I think we get to see brilliant project management and we get to see atrocious project management. Is there a way that India, and I'm using this as generic India, which is there a way that we can minimize the variance? And I think that should be the focus when we are looking at national talent management, project management, talent building capability. How do we reduce variance? Whether it's at the organization level, whether it is at the government level, yeah, brilliant projects are getting executed. Is there something to learn? The second one that I think we need to do more of is knowledge sharing, not in terms of training materials, but actually being able to create opportunities and mechanisms. And one of the things I've also been looking at is, one of the challenges that we are facing together, whether in engineering colleges, there's been some discussion, is that how do you get them access into organizations? Yeah? Now, in project management and in this space, I think we have a luxury because there are thousands of things in the society which need project management. So whether project management courses in any institution today needs industry access is a question, because if project management is about mindset and application of certain ways of thinking, building on a habit, then why cannot it be the society around us where they actually make the difference? So maybe that's a methodology that academics will probably have to look at. And the last one which I would support is really, do we need actually a national institute which looks at research on people in project management? Right now, the only institution in the country which actually does some research on people is the armed forces. Research on people, okay? Not as consumers, but as employees. I think the need for project management today is in looking at what is that we need for project management. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Aswati.
I must really thank all of them, because I don't want to really build as to what they have said, but build on top of what they have said. Those who have attended this morning's e-governance session, right, they will quickly recollect that there are two issues. One is building the competencies. Second is applying those competencies. Now, the various constituents which act as catalysts for this building are the academy, the businesses, then the government, the society, and our own home, I would call that, all the five. But then, who will actually drive? And that's what the e-governance committee also, or the e-governance, I would say, the various attendees felt. There has to be an overarching, right, something that drives, something that says, then only it will happen, something at the national level perhaps. Now I'll ask one question over here. How many TV channels in this country? There are 128 channels, or I don't know, 183. Earlier there used to be only one dancer coming on the screen. Now there are thousands of dancers come on the screen, and so on and so forth. Like this, how many channels really talk about, forget project management, talk about leadership? Please raise your hand.
No, silence is giving answer.
The idea is there is nothing, right? So now all of us over here, we have also the responsibility. Please don't think that I'm somebody like a guru or something. I'm not saying that. We all have the responsibility. As the Professor Srinath said, the project management applies to life. So please ensure that whatever you do to your children, to your friends, etc., and be an example. That's what we have to drive. And I would like to tell you one thing. There's a radio station. There are a couple of radio stations in the United States. For every week, they actually broadcast for half an hour project management principles to the society. Twice a week, they talk about project management principles and so on and so forth. I'm telling you, if that had been there and if the society really embraced it, we would have probably, we have probably attended to the recent bombing situation in Delhi much better, I'm telling you. The reason why is because society awareness is not there and the society push is not there. Let's ensure that, and if we are all catalysts to that, and if all the constituents really work towards this, certainly, yes, we will see that India actually becomes a leader in this.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we conclude the panel session. On behalf of the organizing committee, we express deep gratitude to all the panelists. They have taken time. It is not at 2 o'clock. They have started off their journey almost at 11:30 in the morning to spend time, respond to questions. Thank you for all your questions. We have tried to address questions to the extent possible. There are, if any other questions, we'll try and see how we can make use of those questions and respond as articles or response through our blogs. Thank you very much. We conclude. Over to
Ladies and gentlemen, a very big round of applause for the panel members. I'd like to invite Mr. Sai back on stage. We'd like to thank our panel members, starting with Mr. Vijay Prasad. Thank you very much indeed, sir. We'd like to thank Srinath Patni. I'd like to thank you, sir, for being a part of this panel and for being here with us this afternoon. Thank you very much, ma'am, for being here with us and for being a part of the panel. Mrs. Vasanthi Srinivasan, thank you, ma'am, for being here with us. We'd also like to take this time to thank our panel anchor, Mr. B.G. Jairam. Thank you very much indeed, sir. We'd like to thank Mr. B.G. Jairam once again for anchoring the panel. Thank you very much indeed, sir.